Coming up in this episode of Professional Jealousy.
I think that I'm probably either a dream or nightmare client. And he goes, fuck yeah. And like walked out, he like levitated as he walked out the door. And I was like, well, I guess I know what I'm doing next. You know, I like on the one hand, I can just sort of eviscerate myself. Everyone needs to feel ownership over their professional endeavor. I think regardless of the age, you know whether you really know yourself or if you're just bullshitting yourself.
Hi, I'm Natasha Jakubowski, Chief Innovation Officer at Anomaly, a global marketing agency in New York. And this is my podcast, Professional Jealousy, where I'm lucky enough to talk to founders, business leaders, and creatives that I'm impressed by. And yes, just a little bit jealous of. So today I'm talking with Richard Mumby. We'll be chatting about his career working at DTC pioneers like Gilt and Bonobos, what he learnt at Juul, and how he actually founded a new type of energy pouch company. Hello, Richard.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining me. For anyone that hasn't heard of WHIP, what is the elevator pitch?
Well, the good news is it's super simple. We have clean, natural caffeine in a pouch that is equivalent to a coffee or an energy drink in a simple to use format. So we sell in all sorts of packages, but it's a small, discreet plant-based pouch. Pop in your mouth, enjoy the ride, and get the fuel to do the things in your day, or maybe a couple late nights as well.
I mean, I'm impressed by the product usage and demo. That's pretty slick. It is a super interesting idea. I've been working on for the past couple of months on Alani Nu, and energy is obviously massive. But this is a new form. It's definitely, I don't know, tucking it or, being inspired by the pouch or the kind of Zyn format.
Sure.
Can you talk about that kind of aha moment? Like, how did this come about?
Yeah, I mean, the good news is that from like a business standpoint, is that people love caffeine and they love energy. 85% of Americans consume caffeine every day. It's a part of daily routines and rituals, and yet people wish that there was something better about it. The core unmet needs are that people would like a more trustworthy, cleaner, better for you, some sort of improvement on the quality of the caffeine they consume. People want more convenience, and then people want cheaper options. So those are sort of huge category and some unmet needs. And at the same time, there's been this wave of adoption that I'm sure folks know a lot about, where in another category, in nicotine, there's been a generational shift in how people are consuming it with Zyn and other pouches. And so the business actually originated before I joined, 2.5 years before, from a team of folks who owned a company called TJP, which is the world's best manufacturer of pouches, but saw that there was transferability into a different category. They spent 2 years on the formulation and tons of money. And I joined to really launch it. And what I really was inspired by was not just the scale of opportunity, and not just even that we make a really good product, but that we could fundamentally, solve consumer needs better than what has been on the market before.
Yeah. So a better solve, i.e., drinking it isn't convenient all the time, or like what really,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like,
talk to me about this need.
so the convenience thing, it is a funny topic, right?
Yeah.
For something that people consume every day. I still have a coffee every morning. My husband has a bit of our routine. He wakes up earlier. He brews a pot of coffee, and I love that. But most of us consume caffeine through a liquid.
Mhm.
Yet the convenience issue has a range of frustrations for a sundry product. We hear that athletes don't like drinking liquids and certainly don't like carbonation before they work out or run. That sloshing around or the bloating that happens from the carbonation.
Hmm.
In focus groups, endless focus groups with construction workers, bringing a coffee or a drink onto a job site, they are worried about spills and dust and debris getting in their drink. Like that is a common thing.
Yeah.
And then there's a biological issue that with liquids and a stimulant, you
Yeah.
have to go to the bathroom. And
Yeah.
we hear female runners, we hear e-sport athletes, we hear long haul truckers. That biological issue is a big frustration.
Okay. I buy that. I mean, it's interesting, um, going the kind of category creation route and the behavior change versus, I mean, I guess you've happened on an amazing technology and product, but like pouches versus something like a gummy or
Yeah,
a
I mean, so
candy kind of thing.
sure. I think there've been attempts at different different ways to consume caffeine. Um, there is a helpful parallel in, another large consumer category of consumer adoption. So in nicotine, people have adopted it because the product works. There's always efficacy and delight. And people in that category, there's a high efficacy quotient and people really enjoy it.
Hmm.
And I think that with alternatives in caffeine, there's been sort of a range of outcomes on whether it works well for from the caffeine, sort of the outcome that you want from it.
Yeah.
And there's a range of outcomes of whether people really enjoy doing it or not. I mean, I have one in right now. I have
Yeah.
our blue raspberry in, and I got to tell you, it's like a little it's a hidden treat that I get to have while I'm talking to you. And so we're really able to do that. I think that this is a massive shift that's happening in the way people consume. But as you said, product is king. It isn't just that we're a pouch. We happen to make a very good one. We happen to have a distinct formulation that has the ability to have enough caffeine that you can feel the experience of it.
Mhm.
And also we mask the bitterness of caffeine, which is really hard to do in a way that it tastes great. And so if, this is all I tell people, like, we're not a marketing company, we're not a sales company, we're not a finance company. We are a product company. We make caffeine and energy pouches, and we've got to be exceptional at that. So everything else is in support of that.
Yeah. Um, I mean, you talked about lots of focus groups. How did you, you know, gauge whether this was niche or a big enough opportunity to go all in? Because you are all in on WHIP at the
Yeah,
moment.
we are. I am. We are. Um, so before I joined, there was a pilot launch under a different banner called LFGO, and that was a good way to gauge product market fit. In the 4 months that existed before I joined, it was online only. It was really clear there was not just an openness, but an acceptance from
For sure.
consumers. Not just trial, but enough repeat that you could see that there was something there.
And that was through just DTC, or how did
Yeah,
you sell?
and on Amazon.
And on Amazon. Okay.
Yeah, but but then that was enough for me to come aboard. So I took the CEO role in October of 2024, and it was clear that we had a big opportunity. The next step was to build the brand and to build sort of the go to market for this.
Mhm.
And we're fortunate to be able to have resources to make big investments in understanding the consumer, and brought this extraordinary um, head of consumer insights in to work with us. Her name's Krista Greenberg. She ran insights in relevant other businesses before. She was at Red Bull for many years. Um, an extraordinarily talented insights leader. And so we did foundational work, broad scale consumer insight studies and surveys and focus groups and in-home use tests, comparative tests, focus groups, and really understood sort of who would be open to it, what needs do we fill, how do we hang our hat from a product standpoint, but then how do we build a brand to resonate with them as well? And
And that, so I'm interested. So you did move from the LFGO to Whip. Talk about that evolution. What was that aiming to bring to life? Like what was behind that kind of branding change early on?
yeah, I mean, we really had like the LFGO was really a pilot test to make sure that there was a product market
Yeah.
test. So we did that. We then took a breather and then assembled a full, business plan for broad commercialization. So Whip has a bounty of choice of consumers. This product can fit into a wide range of nearly every American's life. And it was breathtaking to see the response that um, who like the openness to the product category and how we could fit those needs, not just in the US, but internationally as well.
Mhm.
So, we really had to take a moment to build the brand, to build the sales marketing strategy, our distribution plans, and we were ready to go from there. Each inflection point is actually not just confirmed what we have before us; it's actually expanded the opportunity, which is really exciting for us.
Interesting. So you talked a little bit about athletes. I can see, that it feels like a very easy move from things like goo and
Yeah.
non drinks. Construction workers. Talk to me about your core kind of consumer segments.
So we can see we're in more than 5,000 doors, 7 months in. We're expanding rapidly. We're online. We're on our website, whip.com. We're on Amazon. We're on GoPuff. We're on Walmart.com. We have enough distribution, just 7 months in, that we can see who's using the product. The good news is when people try it, they buy it, and they buy it again. Um, and it's remarkably diverse. So we index really high around hospitals, around college campuses,
Mhm.
around travel centers and truck stops. Um, our best affiliate on TikTok is a female athlete. And so we really aren't a niche business that needs to figure out where to expand into. We see like a bounty of choice.
Yeah,
And so that's really, you know, at this stage of the game, we're really excited by the reception.
yeah. Energy and getting shit done.
Yeah, I mean, like everyone, people keep talking about, accessing the 25th hour.
Yeah,
And maybe I should have heard the expression earlier, but it's like this continual refrain. Some people need, to get up some extra pep in their step in the morning. People grind through their day, whether they're at their desk or on a job site. They squeeze in workouts. Hopefully in the world we live in, people are finding ways to have fun even at night. And, this product can fit into that as well.
okay. Um, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, like, you are for everyone. Your branding is from an outsider, it does look quite kind of masculine in ways. Maybe that's just because I've been working on Alani Nu, the exact like polar opposite almost. But yeah, but do you think it skews more male in terms of what you were aiming for in terms of the kind of visual identity?
Well, I don't think that we intended that. I but and everyone can interpret it. I will say that on TikTok, our male female um, purchasing is literally 50-50.
Yeah,
And
amazing.
so that's interesting. But I think that we wanted the brand to look, regardless of gender. I think that our aspirational target of who we are building the brand around is somebody who leads an ambitious full life. They work hard, they work out hard, they go out hard, and they bring others along with them. And so we really wanted it to feel that it was energy, that it had some, layer of cool to it, that it was some badge, some merit of like those who are audacious enough to pull off doing a lot.
Yeah,
And those of us who are sort of finding ways to make it through the days as well get to appropriate into that as well.
yeah. Yeah, I like that. And I feel like I need to give a shout out to my good friends George Studio, maybe,
Oh, yeah. The
Dave
best.
Clark and Gergis. Tell me, what was your brief to them to work on the kind of brand and bringing it to life?
They were like, I think that I'm probably either a dream or nightmare client, and I'll let you interview them next to just to let them say what the verdict is. But, we really wanted somebody that could move at a pace. We built what looks and feels like a global brand in record time, from everything from naming through visual identity to brand standards, and they were the best partners, both Dave and Andrew. Um, and they'll forever be a part of the family and friends of mine now too. The brief was, um, I'll tell you, was I had this essence of the brand that was like a witch's cauldron that requires like a witch's cauldron and a time machine of the of the best eras of um Red Bull, GoPro, and Supreme. And if you could mash those together and have a baby of those brands on TikTok in a convenience store is like how I wanted the brand to come alive. And
Yeah,
so I think they pulled it off.
amazing. Um, what was the moment that you thought, "Yeah, I'm going all in on this"?
So the chairman of the company is this remarkable guy, David Cinnamon, who now is one of my favorite humans and closest friends. And so I met him over a Zoom. We met through one of these cameras. And he told me about what the product was and what their vision for it. It seemed pretty interesting. And he sent me a box of product. So a bunch of products. And I brought it out to the beach. Some friends of mine and I were out in Fire Island. And so, we're adult men in our 40s, and so there's something called tea there, and so we went for that, an afternoon drink, and everyone was like popping a pouch in their mouth on their way to tea, and without my encouragement, they just sort of naturally did it. I was like, that's pretty good. And then there's like a 25-year-old liquor delivery guy who brought a delivery over, and it was my turn to give him a tip, and somebody said, "Oh, well, give him one of those pouches." And so I brought him a can, and I was like, there's no nicotine. He knew what to do, and popped open the can and put in a pouch. He let it find its spot, and he pondered it for like 2 or 3 seconds, and he goes, "Fuck yeah!" And like walked out. He like levitated as he walked out the door, and I was like, "Well, I guess I know what I'm doing next."
Amazing. And this, yeah, I mean, what do you think? I feel like the experience at Juul must have been quite helpful for thinking about this kind of category, like something new, different form factor, figuring out how to connect with people in a way that's, you know, cool, but also functional. Like, talk to me, what's been most helpful from your past experience moving into this space?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if I take like even one step further back,
Mhm.
I've been fortunate. I worked at Bain, but I've spent most of my career with high growth consumer brands. I was early at the Gilt Group, and I was at Bonobos, I was at Pax and Juul. I think each of them had a different product or mode of distribution that really, at its core, they were product businesses, or there was something that solved a need really well. But they were allowed to tap into culture in order to connect with their consumers and to create a category through that. And so I think all of them allowed me to do that. I think that's, if I have like a sweet spot, it's sort of consumer businesses that have a great product, but the ability and the right to participate in culture. Um, I think with Juul in particular, there's lots of lessons. I think the deep familiarity with the channels that we sell this product into
Mm.
is really helpful. And the scale of opportunity, and with a product that has just like a fundamentally different and better proposition.
Yeah, I've seen your stickers in kind of bodega windows, which is, yeah, is, one of those really effective, but presumably things that a lot of new brands wouldn't have thought of, which is super smart. How have you kind of thought about scaling? So you're already in quite a lot of distribution points. Like what's been your kind of launch or
Yeah.
launch strategy?
So, um, yeah, I mean, certainly a lesson was don't, we've scaled quickly, but at Juul, we scaled even faster. And so the lesson here was really like, was to understand what drives velocity at retail. This is and what drives consumer behavior, both online and offline. We've got a great e-commerce business that's run really judiciously, that we have great repeat rates. We've got great customer engagement. We've got awesome affiliates, that whole world. But I think that what, I'm lucky to have had experience in and learnings from and to apply here is how to do that in the retail world. And so we could actually be in far more retail doors at this point. But within the first 6 months, the thing that I most wanted to know was what drives velocity at retail. Um,
Hmm.
the my biggest nightmare is for our product to sit at a distributor or to sit on a shelf. And so we haven't dumped product in distributors or, goosed our revenue to try to make this more appealing from, a top line standpoint. Like I always say it when I go and meet with any of our retail partners, our business is going to be built on their shoulders. We will only make money if they make money. We like, and they will only make money if the consumers know who we are, know what we are, and enjoy using it. So that is like the core of what we need to do. So thus far, it's really been a really disciplined, slow roll. I mean, quick in absolute terms, but slow
Yeah.
given, the opportunity that we have to get into doors. And then built out a great data team here that really understands the stuff. I think when we build brands, there's some sexier stuff to do than all of your in-store marketing, but those are actually like our cheapest impressions. Those are our most material. Those are some of our most effective. So we've just put a lot of time into that.
Yeah, I think it's the one of the pieces that a lot of founders with, you know, especially like whether it's candy or beverages or they really miss, you know, I'd underestimate the impact at retail. Like, what would your advice be for any, people starting out and thinking about that channel? Like, what should they be doing? What are the basics that really set you up for success as a new brand?
I mean, um, it's a good question. I mean, I'll give you my initial reaction. You tell me whether it's a good answer or not. But I always keep coming back to the product. Like
Yeah.
on our product, working with the George team, we worked really hard on our packaging for it to be clear, who we were and what we were. And then you extend that into your inner packs or your displays. Just um I think I think that people may be inclined to create beautiful things, but not necessarily look through the eyes of the consumer through all of them, and or they work on their advertising as their art manifestation of their brand. But we really, our biggest manifestation of the brand is on our product, on our packaging, but how we appear in retail and knowing who that consumer is, um, and what they're and also like how curious actually are they? Like it's very easy to be. I tell us like we can't be so self-centered. Nobody is nearly as interested in us as we are in ourselves. Um, so that's kind of what I would start with. I don't know if that's great advice, but then an understanding of where you appear in retail. You know, for us, we wanted to. I hate that word disrupt, but we wanted to like be distinct from other things that we would be around, and think we did a great job with that.
Yeah. Any uh mistakes or things that you wish you would have avoided, like in the first. Yeah, yeah, I mean, I guess it's pretty quick so far, but yeah, any big learnings, any things that you wish you could have avoided?
Just in any category? Oh
I
gosh.
mean, any in launching this brand, again, such a different kind of brand form factor. Um,
Yeah. I mean, like, listen, yeah, join me at bedtime and as I'm trying to fall asleep, and I can give you a longer list. I'll give you the days list. But, yeah, I mean, I think, I don't I like, on the one hand, I can just sort of eviscerate myself on, like, what we could have done differently or better. But I saw what's that the gold medal Olympic figure skater, what's her name that she just won?
uh,
Alyssa Liu.
yeah, amazing.
The best, and I saw her, and she was asked a question like, "What would you tell your younger self, to do?" And she was like, "You got it. Like, you're gonna be okay even with your mistakes." And so that's such a shitty answer to give you, but, like, I mean, we made fumbles of maybe, like, too big of some brand activations that we weren't quite ready for, but we're in a good spot, and so I'll I'll sort of be kind
Yeah.
right now.
I do think that, I don't know, disagree with if you want, but there's definitely I feel like to be an entrepreneur or to be more entrepreneurial, um, you kinda have to be pretty growth mindset. So maybe it's a hard question.
Well,
Like
I mean, like, of 2 minds. I mean, like, I don't know, like, we have a team at the Arnold right now, and so we could have, like, done a photo shoot for some different assets to be there. Like, great, but we're gonna have a great time and introduce the brand to a lot of people, and
yeah,
so that'll be good. So I mean, the team can know that I can nitpick and fuss over something till, the end of the days, but we're in a good spot. I
yeah.
don't I'm clearly unwilling to, like, go there with you right now.
No, I like it, I like it. I think there is something in, to be able to keep going and do new stuff and be entrepreneurial. I think you kinda need to be able to, you know, ignore the ignore the failures and move on and learn from stuff and think that that's gonna get you somewhere. So I think that's probably says something good about you. Um, I love that your career talk to me about your career path. So I didn't realize you started at Bain. I always wonder whether I should have done that sort of thing first. But talk to me about your career path. Like you've done a ton of interesting stuff. Are you one of these people that is very strategic in terms of moves, or it's more serendipity, or how would you talk about your career path?
Yeah, I mean, so I started my career in the late '90s, in the least sexy, world, in bulk commodity chemicals, during Web 1.0, when they were trying to, like, every category was being rethought, and so I started there. I worked in venture at American Express, but I think when I left Bain, and which was one of the most extraordinary places to work, I'm blessed and burdened by the structured thinking that it's sort of like, ingrains in your thinking. But I went to Gilt, which was a really good move. And somebody said, I was trying to figure out what to do. And so Gilt was, a startup, a growth stage company. It was in retail. I had sort of a category manager role. And so I was trying to figure out where my career could go. And somebody, they're like, "Do you want to run a retail company?" And I was like, "No." And I was sort of hedging on whether to what to commit to. That's the right word. Um, my husband would get a kick out of that. So, um, and so, somebody was like, you either choose an industry or you choose a function. And it was like, and it was so clear. And whether that's right or not, it was really helpful for me in that stage of my career where I'd been fortunate with good success and felt like I had almost too many options and didn't know where to go. Right. So that clarity of like, do you want to be a retail person or do you want to be a functional? And I was like, well, I don't think that I'm a retail person. So I guess I've got the other option. And then you go through the functions. And when you actually put pen to paper, there aren't that many functions. So, like, so it became a much clearer decision. And I think that I really, I worked in marketing at American Express after um, American Express closed their venture fund after 9/11, which is a silver lining for me to get that experience.
Mhm.
And so for me, that I really loved marketing. I liked understanding the consumer. I think that marketing is like, as a word, is such like a um it's such like an unhelpful description of the scope and role of what that can be. And I loved it. I think that I've been in a diversity of industries. I like consumer. So that's like the common thread. I like growing things. I'm not like a tinker person. I'm a grower. And that was really, that's like as much forward planning as, if I'm listen, we can all reverse engineer how planful we are, but how planful are we really?
Yeah, I don't know. I no plans, no plans whatsoever. Whereas my husband was, yeah, he wanted to have started and sold his first company before 30. Like, and
Did he
that's
do it?
yeah, he did do it.
Well, that's good.
Uh, he's in, yeah, just such a different mindset. But I'm always glad to hear people less driven in the same kind of planning way. What where do you see the future? Like, are you trying to build Whip into a massive business? Are you trying to sell it? Are you trying to, you know, what's your thoughts on the future?
Yeah. Well, I'm
Your
glad that you're limiting the question to the future related to WHIP, not the world writ large.
I mean, life, the meaning of life and everything
Yeah.
else. Yeah.
So, I mean, we have an extraordinary product that people are going bananas over. And so, really, the future I can see, a few years in, and with great conviction, we're going to be in many countries, and we're going to have a lot of pouches in a lot of people's lives. And we're fundamentally going to shift consumption from legacy modes into what we're doing. I think we're going to have a global brand, and we're going to define a fundamentally new category. You know, I like, I think that because of that, we're going to have, um, a business with meaningful revenue. I think we've got a great team running it to make sure that that we have profitability. We've got good partners. All of that is like the byproduct
Yeah.
of like a product that people really like. Um, and that's great. It's fun.
All right. I can't, we're running out of time. We're going to move on to some, a kind of quick fire last little segment. More frivolous, easier, shorter.
Okay.
All right. Uh, apart from Whip, what do you do when you're low on energy and have to kind of, you know, per perk up? Any habits, practices, things that you do to kind of give yourself a boost?
I've, you know, emphatically the best dog in the world. And so I take my dog Piper for a walk along the water. Um, and then my parents live in California, and usually I sort of decompress in the evenings and take the dog for a walk, and call mom and dad back in California.
Oh, that's so nice. I'm hoping my son says that about me one day. Um, best career advice, worst career advice you've ever had?
Oh, well, my father didn't. He wasn't like a meddler. I think that he he really trusted us to make our own decisions. But he gave me advice that stuck with me for a long time, which was that, and there are exceptions to this, but he said, a lot of careers are set by 40, the trajectory of that. And so he sort of like gave me, and I don't know, it was the best advice for me. I don't know if it's the best advice for somebody else, especially if they're over 40. But it sort of gave me clarity on, and discipline and focus and motivation to like ensure that I was on a trajectory that I was happy with and proud of by then. And so, um yeah, because I think that, it's given how careers work now in this lightning round. Now I'm talking too
Yeah.
much. But
No, no, it's good.
but um it's like there's just so much movement, and, like, you have to have so much agency over your own career. My dad was a company man. He was dedicated to the entity, and we now have to all sort of fend for ourselves in different ways and look after ourselves and all of that, and that's really hard. I think that and I talk to a lot of junior people about that, as I want this to be an exceptional place for them to, like, you've got like, everyone needs to feel ownership over their professional endeavor,
Okay.
and I think that advice was, like, it just was really helpful to, like, it was a time integer that I could help, like, that I could manage to,
Yeah.
because, like, I don't know, like, 65 or 70, it's like, it'll all work out by then, but
Yeah.
it was soon enough to know that I needed to, like, not fuck it up.
Yeah. Well, it's also, I think what's interesting about that, it could be read as like you need to figure yourself out by the time you're 40,
Yeah.
like, and then the one depressing thing about it could be about, if you haven't, if what you're doing at 40 is forever. It's funny. I'm going to be interviewing Gail Becker of Collie Power, who started Collie Power at 52. So it's interesting, but okay,
But I think
yeah,
there's a counter to it, which is that if it hasn't if you don't feel like the career you've had
yeah,
is the career you want, then, like, maybe don't keep the slog going
yeah,
and think anew.
do something about it.
Do something about it. Like, and you can feel like, I think that a lot of, like, y you know, a lot of advice or counsel is usually things that you know to be true, where it's the word like, it's like when you get a fortune cookie and you read something and you're like, you find it insightful, you kind of knew it to be true to begin with, right?
Yeah.
And so,
Alright.
I think regardless of the age, whether you really know yourself or if you're just bullshitting yourself.
Alright, worst career advice, and then we'll move on.
Oh my gosh, worst career advice. Um, I don't know. I mean, I've worst career. You gave me warning for this question too.
We can skip it, we can skip it.
The
Um,
worst the yeah. I mean, no, no, I don't. I've been lucky to work with. Everything is
yeah,
it'll work out anyway.
alright, I like it, a bit of a Lissaloo. Do you have mentors?
Oh, mentor. You said mentals.
Oh, mental mentors? It's the accent.
No, it's good.
Mentors. Yep.
I do have,
Yeah, what sort of mentors do you have?
sort of like different pockets of my life. And they sort of have different facets. There's this guy, Mike Krupka. He founded Bain Capital Ventures. He's probably one of the smartest people I know, can diagnose any business. He knows how to push me forward, which is great. My old boss, the Gilt Group, Nate, we've created and built together, and he cares about me personally. I mean, they all do. And then one of my dearest friends, Arthur Roger, he's a gallerist. He has a gallery in New Orleans, and he's my life mentor. He's just the most extraordinary friend who's had a few more laps around the sun, and he just gives me the best advice that you could hope for.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
What do you think your superpowers are that have helped you kind of be successful?
Well, I have the best executive manager coach sage. Her name's Valerie Germain, which is like a name out of fiction. Like it's the best name. And she did this extraordinary thing where she interviewed 15 people who knew me well, personally and professionally, and they came back with what my superpower was, which was very, and it's,
Well,
well, I know it's a long buildup. But I think that it's helpful that I heard it from others. But I build movements. I create a vision and I pull other people along with me. And I think that's sort of, I do that professionally. You know, I've got this house that I renovated. Even like the tradespeople were along for the ride. Everyone sort of, I like this is all, it's all a journey, and like to pull people along with me.
yeah, that's pretty amazing. Yeah, bringing people with you, inspiring. That's pretty good. Anything you wish you'd learned earlier in your career?
I mean, yeah, I mean, my career and just like in life is how small the world is. As big as it is, it's small. Um, and um, in that, in that, it's sort of like not knowing that provides these like wonderful surprises on how people sort of flow back into your life. But I wish I knew that earlier.
Okay. Anything that you are trying to get better at? Anything you're working on to try and get better at?
Like, I mean, the way people consume content is just staggeringly different than what it was 3 or 5 years ago. And, we've got them just how what communications, what even PR and media comms is just so it is all evolving so fast. Um, and and there's and just knowing what is current, that's always like a pursuit, but the media world is just transforming. It's like holding on to water. It's just changing so fast.
Yeah, amazing. My husband's been spending way too long playing with Claude code at the moment. It is. It's like, yeah, just every day there's something more. I can't believe. Oh no, maybe one more, and then we'll go to the last question. I'm just curious. You've done so many things. You've had so much success. I'm wondering, not whip, not business, but like, how do you define success for yourself personally?
Well, my husband and I sort of he he and I debate this. But I think that it's a sense of I think happiness is fleeting, but a sense of satisfaction and a sense of accomplishment is very good. Um, and I think that's does that answer your question? Am I heading in the right direction?
Yeah.
Um, and I think that that's have you done my dad had a bad stroke almost a year ago, and it was just devastating.
Yeah.
Extraordinary person as you can tell in my life, and he's paralyzed on the left and doing his best to recover. And, I was visiting recently and he, was, he had a not the best day. And so he was working on his exercises in his bed and he gave himself a pep talk and he channeled his mother, my amazing grandmother, and said, "You just keep going and you keep doing your best." And I think that's just sort of like that is what success is like doing your best, and hopefully you're doing your best on behalf of more than just yourself.
Amazing. All right. Last question. Tell me someone or something that you're professionally jealous of.
The person the person who I mentioned him before, um, the person who I'm probably professionally jealous of, is my friend Arthur, who I mentioned before. He owns this incredible gallery in New Orleans. Um, he, he's family to me. He grew up on Desire Street. His father was a streetcar driver. His mother took a second mortgage out on her home to help him open his gallery, and he created and defined, contemporary art, not just in New Orleans. But the reason why I'm envious is that he not just his work doesn't just um isn't just the fabric of his own life, but he extends it into everyone he meets. And when you go to his home, you are amongst this incredible art. You learn so much. You get to be a part of it, and it's this world that he's so generous with. And I think that I'm lucky that I get to create caffeine and give people energy, and I hope that I imbue them and energize them to do good and great things. And I am inspired by Arthur by what he's been able to do for me and in so many ways, and he does for anyone that walks into his gallery.
Amazing. And what's the gallery name?
It's named Arthur Roger Gallery.
Okay. Amazing. Richard, thank you so much. It's so interesting. And I'm so glad that you gave me an hour of your time. Thank you to anyone listening, watching. Please subscribe. Take a look at some of the other episodes we've done. You can find more on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts, or even professionaljealousy.com. Get in touch if you have any questions, feedback, or importantly, anyone that you'd like to see featured. A quick thank you to Shimmy Boyle, the producer. You can follow me at Natasha Jakubowski on LinkedIn or on Instagram, etc., etc. Thank you so much.